Let's go. See the screen. Very good. I have a lot of people this way, so I'm going to try to look here, but then I also have some people here. So don't get confused if my head is moving or not during this presentation, because I'm going to be a bit confused on where to look. But thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much to the Public Management Agency that set this up for me. Being the public sector lead for LinkedIn Talent Solutions in the Baltics, it's obviously very grateful to be able to share this hour together with you, and hopefully be able to connect with all you HR professionals and people on this call afterwards on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to look me up and connect with me. Today, I wanted to kind of go through. I know there's a diverse population, different people, different backgrounds, different sets of knowledge about LinkedIn. So I prepared a presentation for about 30 minutes where I'll just show a little bit of an overview of LinkedIn, what we do, some of the trends that we see that I wanted to point out and give some advice on how to manage. And then also kind of talk a little bit about the solutions and what you can do on LinkedIn as well. Quite kind of a big overview. So do feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. Also, we leave some space at the end of the call as well for anybody that has any type of LinkedIn related wonderings. You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask us that. So let me start with let's see if this works. Oh, there you go. I was just a little bit delayed. All good. With the vision of LinkedIn, which has been the same vision since LinkedIn was founded in 2003, and that is to create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So as I said, my job is as a public sector lead in Baltics and Central and Eastern Europe. But the true north of my job, what I'm really here to do is to obviously support the vision of LinkedIn. So how can I contribute to LinkedIn growing and to us to then, when we're growing, create more opportunities for our members of the platform. That's why I'm also thought out after kind of 11 years at LinkedIn, I moved position to work towards public sector, because I'm very interested in the combination of private sector solutions like LinkedIn with public sector scale and being able to reach people that we would maybe normally not be able to reach in the private sector. So that's why I'm excited about the role that I have and really happy to be able to do the job that I do. Now, if we look at just LinkedIn, since its birth in 2003, it's grown a lot, and we now see that we have over 1.1 billion members all over the world. We obviously, the goal is that every professional in the whole world would have a LinkedIn profile, and we've come quite a long way already. When I started at LinkedIn in 2013, there was about 250 million members. So in my kind of 12, 13 years at the company, we've added 850 million members. And you could see here spread out that actually 79% of our members are outside of the US, where the company is from. So we're truly a global company now. We are available in 36 languages across the world. In some markets now as well, we have tools where you can actually verify who you are. And so far, we've seen 55 million people verify their identity on LinkedIn as well, which is something that's increasing in importance now with, what's happening on social platforms around the world and the debate about what's real and what's true and so on, and who's posting. It's very important for us that LinkedIn remains a trusted platform. Yes, you can see here, Lithuania is not on there. So I did a little slide specifically on Lithuania. Well, this is a slide I actually did last year to kind of illustrate a little bit about where we are in Lithuania and in the Baltics as a whole when it comes to LinkedIn. I kind of created three different buckets. The red one being the Nordic countries, which is very mature LinkedIn countries with a lot of penetration. Most people would have a LinkedIn profile in these countries, but the growth rate is not as high because it's reaching saturation. Then somewhere in between there, we have the Baltic countries that are growing faster, but we don't have as many members on the platform. But obviously, if we could sustain those growth rates, you will slowly move towards where the Nordics are today. And then the last bucket is because I also work in the Visegrad countries, and they are further behind the Baltics when it comes to LinkedIn penetration. Since I did this slide about a year ago, it's changed. Obviously, more people have come to the platform. I looked this morning on our own recruiter tool, and I could see 630,000 profiles in Lithuania, and that's out of roughly just shy of 3 million people in total, right? So roughly say 1.5 million in the workforce. So out of those 1.5 million in the workforce, 630,000 have a LinkedIn profile now, which is really, really interesting to see because if we compare it to mature countries, it's when we get to that level of penetration, we're starting to see non-traditional people also having LinkedIn profiles, not just the ones that you would expect to be there, which means that obviously LinkedIn becomes a more interesting channel to seek not only kind of the core white collar population, but for other types of professions as well. I also looked at kind of just comparing members in different countries, how many had between 10 and 30 years experience compared to 0 to 10 years experience. And what was interesting there is Lithuania is a bit of an outlier, showing that most of the members on LinkedIn in Lithuania have 0 to 10 years experience. I would interpret it as young people in Lithuania have LinkedIn profiles now. Older people, not so likely. So people that have been been working for 20, 30 years, they would have maybe not created a LinkedIn profile because they have their own network. They're probably not maybe seeking jobs and so on. Whereas people that have graduated from university are actively looking, they would have a LinkedIn profile. Could also be older people that created a profile now and just didn't include their history, which would also obviously show that they don't have experience, even though they do. But I think that shows that a lot of the younger generations, the people that we want to attract into public sector, they are increasingly on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a good channel to use to have a conversation with them about the value proposition and why people should consider working in public sector. Now, all the members that we have on LinkedIn, the 1.1 billion, we also have company pages. So every company is represented on LinkedIn. We try to put all the jobs that are available on LinkedIn. We have 15 million jobs on the platform. For every job, we're also trying to determine what are the skills you need to have that job. So we have a skills hierarchy of 41,000 skills. We have all the universities that you've gone to and all the knowledge, the posts that people post. All of this we call the LinkedIn economic graph. And that's obviously an insane amount of data that shows a real-time view of the talent market today. So we could see, what are recruiters looking for in different geographies? Where are there more demand? Where are there more supply? And a lot of companies work with LinkedIn to get these types of data and reports. So like the World Bank and organizations like that leverage LinkedIn economic graph to get a grasp on what's happening in the marketplace today. So just to illustrate that, every day on LinkedIn globally, every minute, 13,000 connections are formed. 30,000 messages are sent, 1.5 million feed updates are viewed, 9,000 members apply to a job, and 47 hires are made globally every minute on the LinkedIn platform. And with that data, we could then look at, for example, things like this, what are the most in-demand and fastest growing jobs in Lithuania? So looking at the most in-demand jobs, we see how many jobs are posted in different categories on the platform. As you can see, software engineers and business analysts, data engineers are very popular on the LinkedIn platform because that's typically where people post those types of jobs as well, right? Whereas in the fastest growing jobs, you'll see that, control engineer, .NET developer, these types of job titles, I don't really fully understand what they are, but clearly there are jobs where there is a big demand, where there are employers looking for people with these skills. And we can take this data to kind of show universities, educational institutions to make sure that we adapt and we are kind of providing education for the future jobs that exists. And these the data that we have as well, it shows kind of three big kind of transformations that we see that are reshaping the future of work for all of us. The first one, not surprisingly, because we hear about it all the time now, is around kind of the AI-powered transformation of work and how we are changing how we do things because of these new tools that we have. The second one is the transformation of the workforce, where these technology shifts are changing the skills you need to be able to perform different jobs quite rapidly. And then the last one is what we call kind of the transformation of the workplace, where since you need a lot of new skills quite rapidly, there's a big need for continuous learning in the workplace. And you need to be able to support that. And obviously, you here at the Public Management Agency, you're very involved in that with upskilling public sector as a whole, So that's what we see being kind of crucial shifts that are happening and that organizations will have to adapt to. If we look at the transformation of work with AI, this is from a report from McKinsey, where you can see that essentially any industry, like we don't have a public sector in here, but public sector would obviously be part of this as well. We have education and healthcare obviously being part of that. And the different functions of each industry, looking at how impacted that would be by AI and Gen AI. And you'll see that there's billions of dollars of transformation needed and will happen here. And some tasks will be replaced and others will come because of these new technologies that are coming. The other point about the transformation of workforce and the skills changing because of these rapid changes, we could see on LinkedIn data that 70% of the skills used in most jobs will change by 2030, with obviously AI being the catalyst for that. And of the percent of jobs on LinkedIn that have an AI skill as part of the job post, that grew 6 times over just 1 year. So 6 times as many jobs where you need some kind of AI literacy skill to apply for that job. So what we see is because of this kind of pace of skills change in the jobs that people have to do, when you hire people, you need to start looking at kind of skills first type strategies when you're hiring people. because the job title itself might not be as current, but the skills that you need to carry out something is what you need to kind of look for to find the right people. There's also the kind of learning driven, the transformation of workplace. We see that 80% of employees, when we did a linked our workplace learning report, said that they want to learn AI skills for their professions. Obviously, it's top of mind with most people now. We're all curious about how this could help us. And 70% of HR professionals say that their organization is prioritizing learning upskilling initiatives and to build these types of skills within exactly what you're exploring as well in public sector. So to conclude that, what we see, given the kind of LinkedIn data, is that every job is being transformed by AI, by the composition of skills needed, and the competency level of each of those skills as well. And every job, if we boil it down, is essentially at the core a set of different tasks that you need to do, right? So whatever your job title is, there's a number of different things that you do as part of your job. And it's good to start having a look at, like, what are those tasks that you do in the different jobs that you're hiring for, that you have yourself, to really kind of understand then, like looking at just recruiter here as an example, there are loads of different tasks that a recruiter, and I'm sure a lot of you on this call working in HR might be a recruiter or have been a recruiter at some point in your career, and you know yourself, there's a lot of different things that you do. Some of those things, the ones at the bottom, what would it be, left side of this graph, would be a lot of the manual tasks that could fairly easily be replaced by AI. Kind of scheduling interviews, collecting resumes, updating your ATS. Things like that we actually still spend a lot of time on, but as these kinds of tools get better, more of that is going to be automated. And of course, in the LinkedIn solutions that we have for recruiters, we're building out that kind of AI capability as well to make it easier for people to search for candidates, to reach out to candidates, and to do those things. But then there's a lot of other skills that you have that are not so easily automated, right? And a lot of that would be kind of soft skills, things that negotiate with the candidate, closing on a deal, reskilling, understanding team culture, things like that, that hopefully if you're thinking of this in a kind of rosy way and not being scared of the changes, we're all hoping that the automation will mean that we get to spend more time on the things that are actually fun to do and less time on the manual stuff that's not very fun. So these are some of the kind of skills that we are required to be able to be successful in this new kind of future of work where we're seeing a lot of the tasks being replaced. These are kind of cognitive skills like around critical thinking and communication, interpersonal stuff, self-leadership, and obviously digital skills, understanding these types of tools and how I can utilize them themselves would be very top of mind when we ask people what they are now focusing on. And that's kind of what we're trying to see, how LinkedIn can then continue to provide value for all of the members of our platform, and continue to kind of create that economic opportunity. We need to also make sure that regardless of where you are in your career, that we have kind of solutions that could help you as a student starting working You can use LinkedIn to network, connect with people at university, connect with people in the workplace that you come in contact with, so that you have a wider network that can hopefully help you find opportunities for yourself. We obviously have the LinkedIn Learning Library that can help you upskill, get those skills that you need to get the jobs, and you can search for jobs on the LinkedIn platform. Then we have people that are seeking job, or people that are looking for employees. How can we make sure that we, in the best way, match people that are looking for certain skills with people that have those skills through our recruiter solutions and things like that. We have an employee, how can they upskill? How can they continue to learn new skills with LinkedIn Learning? Contributors and mentors, people that are more senior in the role, how can they are not necessarily actively looking for opportunities. They're in a good place in their career. They are not using LinkedIn that way to seek new opportunities. How can we make sure that they still see value being on the LinkedIn platform to be more of a contributor, to share, to mentor, to help maybe other people find opportunities? And I think on this call here, and when we're talking about, how public sector can get the employer brand out there more on a channel like LinkedIn, I think a lot of it is to, you have so many experts in your organizations, and how can we better leverage their voice and having them also contributing more with their expertise on LinkedIn, because I think it's the best way to build brand on LinkedIn. And then you have kind of solutions for, alumni for universities, and how universities can connect with them and have community advocates as well. And talking a little bit about kind of the LinkedIn solutions that you can use to help you do that for public sector. There's a lot of things. Obviously, I represent some solutions within LinkedIn Talent Solutions that cost money, but I wanted to start with kind of the things that you can just do yourselves for free, which is really about setting up a good company page and being active yourselves on LinkedIn. I took some examples here. If there are people on the call that I just had to scroll around to just kind of get an idea myself. So no reflection on the people, but I wanted to kind of showcase what I thought was a more positive example of what I feel is kind of a good company page, and then a person that works for that company as well. And just some points here is that, first of all, I like it's colorful. It looks nice and fresh when you go into the page. This is obviously Invest in Lithuania. Their audience is abroad, so it makes sense that they have an overview in English, right? Not every state agency would have that, because your audience is not international. So I think it's 100% okay to have an overview in Lithuanian if that's your audience. But they have a good overview here. They are obviously in English. And then you see here that they are, that's the top post, but then they have a post there 22 hours ago. So you see they're very active. They have 52,000 followers. They have a good audience there, and they're nurturing that audience by posting updates. And it's all very nice and tidy. And then I don't know Gina here, but I just looked at people in the organization. And what I liked when I looked at her profile is that it's very connected with the organization. You see she had the banner, it says Invest in Lithuania. I know straight away who she is working for. You also have a little company name there as well up in there. So she's filled her profile correctly by having the right employer, which is not always the case. And then she's active. You see she has 2 posts here just in the last week. She's loads of connections. Also, her posts have pictures, which is a good way to get spread. They're personal. Yeah, she has a good, authentic voice on LinkedIn. And now the next slide, I picked out Evelina, who also has a very good LinkedIn profile. Like, she also does a very good job on LinkedIn. You can see that she's also active. She's also sharing stuff on LinkedIn, and she is doing a really good job as a personal brand for the organization. You know, we could see she's a director at the migration department of Lithuania. But the problem here is, or the one I would point out anyway, is that there's no connection with that organization she's working with. Because the migration department of Lithuania, as far as I could see, they don't have a company page themselves. It could be that I didn't find it, but regardless, it's not connected there. I can't click on it to get to the company page. From my Googling, what I understood is that I think the migration department of Lithuania sits under the Ministry of Interior. So it could be that there's not a company page because it should sit under the Ministry of Interior. But then that should be connected with that page, and it should be a little bit clearer for somebody like myself that's like scrolling on LinkedIn. If I like that, where does she work? And then if I look at the Ministry of Interior page, it's just not so active. I realize now we're actually in the same offices here. And I see it on the photo. Exactly. But you see here, like the last posts were like 5-6 months ago. The overview is very short. It doesn't really tell me anything. I mean, there's more work here, I think, that could be done. And because nobody's really investing and doing any work on that, you'll see it has 296 followers. I don't expect it to have the numbers of Invest in Lithuania, but I think it could do a little bit of a better job of actually representing this ministry on LinkedIn as well. And also making sure that all the good brand ambassadors that work within that are connected to that company page. So like for you guys that are like maybe in HR for different kind of organizations within the public sector, I would kind of look at what does it look like for your organization? Is that like the main people that are active on LinkedIn, have they updated their profile so they have the right job, the right connection to the right company on their profile? And that's like small little things that's very easy to fix. And together with that, of course, if there's a company page that's maybe not being super active, see if you can refresh it, make it look a little bit better, write an overview, and maybe post something once a month at least, just so that there's a little bit more activity on there. Very small steps to move towards having a little bit of a better brand on LinkedIn, essentially. Now, in terms of other things that we do, in terms of the solutions that I represent, the first one we work with typically larger organizations is something called LinkedIn Talent Insights. This is a solution where you essentially get access to all of this LinkedIn economic graph data. And you can slice and dice that to really understand yourself the movements of talent. You can compare Lithuania with other countries. You can look at what does the skills look in Vilnius compared to Kaunas. You can do all of this stuff, kind of getting insights from LinkedIn Talent Insights. We often work with maybe larger government or large universities, World Bank, the EU, and their like data analytics people would often have some licenses. We actually also work with Invest in Lithuania that have access to this to support Lithuanian businesses and also supporting kind of data to drive more foreign direct investment into Lithuania. Can use this data to kind of inform the strategy, like what country should we target and things like that. And the other part, which is what I mostly do with different businesses or different state organizations in Lithuania, is kind of using LinkedIn for recruitment, right? So here we have a couple of different solutions, and it's all about supporting employer brand on LinkedIn, making sure that people are better aware of what you can offer employees. Always a big challenge with public sector. You need to compete with private sector for the best talent. You might not be able to compete when it comes to salary, but there are other things that you're very strong in public sector when it comes to purpose-driven work and things like that. And I think there's a huge opportunity for public sector to be a little bit more out there speaking about that and why a career in public sector is interesting. And then we have kind of like recruiter licenses. So this is the ability to do outreach on LinkedIn and proactively contact the right type of people. If you're like an agency seeking very niche people, a solution like that could really help you making sure that you connect with all of the people that have those types of niche skills in this country, that they are aware of what you do, of what you can offer. So even if they're not willing to move now, it's a conversation you could have, and maybe 6 months down the line or 12 months down the line, there might be people that are willing to maybe do a career change and move from private to public sector or so on.
What kind of niche people?
So this could be like I met with the Vilnius development company this morning. They need like very senior kind of project managers, construction project managers to oversee the big projects that they drive. And it's very hard for them to, when they post a job, for example, to get the right type of applicants for those jobs, because it's often then project managers from not construction, but from other parts. And these are people that need to have the right certifications and things like that. And there's a very limited pool of talent that have that in Lithuania, because it's also people that need to speak Lithuanian. So there we spoke about why a recruiter license would probably be a better tool, because there's such a small audience that you can, with the recruiter license, probably connect with all of them in a couple of months, making sure all of them know about what you offer and hopefully be able to drive pipeline that way. Yeah.
Thanks.
And then we have jobs, like just advertising jobs on LinkedIn and getting people to apply for it. And then finally, we have, or actually here, just a quick kind of illustration on a little bit of the AI tools we're building here. So the idea is that you can now just write, as you would do with an AI agency, what you're trying to do as a recruiter. So instead of filling in all of these filters and trying to find, you just say, hey, I'm looking for this and this and that and that. And then it should do the work for you, kind of making it faster for you to do so. And similarly, when you then compose messages and reach out, you can also AI generate it. And they actually get better response rates with AI generated ones so far, which is weird to me, but that's what the data says. Unfortunately, it's in English, so it might not help if you're doing this in Lithuanian. What you can do is obviously generate something in English and translate it and do that. But it'd be great if this was also available in Lithuanian, but it's not yet. And then we have LinkedIn Learning, which is essentially a library of content. So we work with organizations around the world that give employees access to this so that they can guide them to the skills that are needed, the most in-demand skills, and develop the skills that they need in the future. So those are the different types of solutions that I represent as part of LinkedIn. I think kind of summarizing what we spoke about, there's a lot of rapid change. I think we're all feeling that in every aspect of life right now. And I think this is a really good quote that, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. It's going to be kind of the superpower if you're going to be successful in your career, to be able to always adapt and to learn the new things that are coming. So for you guys that are on this call, that are in HR, that are people leaders in public sector, there are kind of 3 things that I think you should really put focus on now. The first one being to experiment with AI. learn about where it fits, where it doesn't fit, and really try to understand it and how it can help your organization. Take some time to analyze, what the skills are that you need for the future. What are you working on? What do you need to hire? What do you need to develop yourselves? And finally, try to drive this kind of culture of learning in your organization. Support all of these initiatives that the good people here at the public management agencies are doing to upskilling people in public sector. Make sure that people take that seriously and that they want to do that, because we should really provide a space for all employees to learn and develop so that they can provide value, for many years to come and not stagnate into what they know now. And with that, thank you. I think I went over here a little bit, so I sped up there a little bit at the end, but I'll stop there now. And hopefully, if anybody has any questions about LinkedIn or anything we spoke about, feel free to speak up.
Hi, so I have a question. You mentioned that we have to involve our experts on LinkedIn activity, but to be honest, we have a problem. So with that, so maybe you have any tips on how to motivate the team to be more active on the platform, or at least support the organization's communication?
I'm sorry, but since we can't see who is speaking, could you please introduce yourself?
Vilma Kulite.
Okay. Yeah, first.
Thank you, Vilma. It's a good question, because it's obviously you can't force people to do things on LinkedIn just because they work in an organization and to share it. I think it starts also with the personal motivation and people understanding a little bit why it could be beneficial for them to take more of an active role on LinkedIn. The personal branding part, and that could be very hard for us in Europe. I'd say in general, maybe not all countries, but in the US, I don't think they have those problems sometimes, because people are quite happy to share whatever they're doing and that. But I think what really resonates for people on LinkedIn is not that kind of a boastful kind of sharing that we would recognize from that. It's essentially just people being authentic in who they are and sharing stuff that they are working on or thoughts that they're having. And like what I'm always trying to say to public sector is that, like, most of the things that you guys are working for are things that are super interesting for the rest of us, because you're actually working on projects for the common good. Whereas, I see lots of private sector people sharing loads of stuff about what they're doing on LinkedIn, which is not really interesting for me, because it's something that that company does, and it's not really. So there's such an opportunity here of sharing all the amazing work that is being carried out by all of the people that work in public sector, that I don't think people quite really know about. So to try to kind of, I don't know, that doesn't answer your question at all, Vilma, but I think to try to find kind of maybe do some sessions on LinkedIn, getting people to understand that, you can do it in a way that's not super scary to start off. And then I know that some agencies and organizations can all set up some kind of brand ambassador team or things like that to maybe try to formalize it a little bit more and to support each other. So maybe that could be a place to start. If you have one or two people that have been active on LinkedIn, get them to share about what they're doing and why they're doing it, because it does help to hear from colleagues, I suppose, rather than somebody coming from HR and asking them to do it.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I was just done.
Oh, sorry, I heard something. Okay, thank you.
Turim dar klausimą? Check the chat. Ne, čia va, Lina, žiūrėjau, pakėlė ranką. Taip, Lina, nespėjom jūsų identifikuoti, galite užduoti klausimą. Netyčiai.
Good afternoon, sorry, it was mistaken.
Okay. I can ask the question while the audience is silent. What are the most common mistakes that organizations made while creating the employer branding on LinkedIn? Do you recognize or could you share your experience?
I think honestly, the biggest mistake I see is that that companies might spend some time on the company page. You make that look good, but then you don't make sure that your employees are actually connected to your company page. So you have the company page, but everybody that works for the organization, they have put in some other sometimes there's confusion because when you create your job, you fill it in and there might be an auto result that you pick that. Sometimes there's duplicate company pages, things like that is fairly straightforward, but that's actually very, very common to not kind of get the structure right from the start. And then the company page then is primarily used to talk about what we do, like to customers often. This may be even more so in the private sector, but there's often not a lot of kind of sharing about what makes us special as an employer. Like why should talent consider working for us? And if you look at LinkedIn, like obviously a lot of people that are on LinkedIn are kind of looking at your company pages and things like that. They are people that would maybe are interested in working for you. So to make sure that you have a little bit more maybe information as well, and do some posts about that as well, and not just posts targeted to kind of your business audience or whatever it might be.
If employee is sharing that, for instance, it's an employee of the office of the government and sharing the decision of the government, like no post, just sharing. Repost, yeah.
Oh yeah, repost.
Reposting.
Yeah.
Is it branding?
I mean, it is. It's spreading that message to a wider audience than what you get from the company page.
So like and share still works, yeah?
It works, but it doesn't work as well as other things. So the first of all, when we look at engagement on LinkedIn, people get a lot more engagement than company pages. So if you post something from a company page, less people typically engage with it compared to if you have a brand ambassador, a person that's like kind of sharing loads and have a big network. People tend to like and comment and do that more on personal posts compared to company posts. So it is a really good idea to kind of, if you post something on the company side, to also get people to maybe share that to their networks so that it gets a bit more of a spread. Now, the LinkedIn algorithm would maybe not premiere a straight repost that much though. If we're talking about like posts that typically get sent to the most people, you can still repost it, but it's good if you include some of your own thoughts or something like that, rather than just reposting something without a comment. The way the LinkedIn algorithm works is that it kind of tests the post in the beginning a little bit. And then if it sees that it's getting traction with what it thinks is the right audience, it's going to start and spreading it to more and more people. So you've probably seen that the odd time we have a bit of a more of a successful post, it's when you get a couple of those likes early, because then you start.
And the comments.
And the comments, yeah. If a person that LinkedIn believes is the right audience comments on that post, it's going to spread it a lot more, because what the LinkedIn algorithm is trying to do is to determine, is this valuable knowledge for this business audience? Because it's trying to be like a professional network. So it wants the stuff that kind of goes viral to be kind of useful knowledge that's being shared, which is like different compared to like your straight social media platforms, because they don't care about that. They just want engagement. They don't care what the content is about. They just want as many people as possible to click on it. LinkedIn is also trying to make sure that it isn't spammy, that it's like good quality content. And that's why it still premieres, you know, if you have a photo and things like that other social media things do, and video, but it will, if you get another person commenting on it that has like that really typically helps them to spread that. So my suggestion there, Anna, is that yes, do repost, but add a comment to why it's worth reposting. Why did you find interesting about that? And then if you can as well, add a photo or something like that. It will increase the engagement. Yeah.
May I ask?
Yes.
And if employee creates his own posts sharing about the company, so who benefits more, either the company or the employer?
Mutually, I hope, right? They put the post out there. They benefit, of course, in the terms that like this is their thoughts they're getting, especially if that goes viral. Loads of people like it in comments. They look really good, right? But the amazing thing is like secondhand is that obviously you as an organization benefit from the fact that that's getting traction, because that person is representing your organization. And if people think that's really amazing, look at what, then they're going to obviously be more interested in you as an organization as well. So primarily it's the person that posts it, but it's very beneficial for your employer brand to just see people that are active. On the flip side of that, of course, there's also obviously if they do negative, like they could also harm your employer brand if it's the other way and they're posting stuff that is maybe not in line with your values, for example. So that's the tricky thing, but hopefully, you know, you have employees that understand that LinkedIn is a professional network. You are on LinkedIn representing your professional self, right? And I think it's good to be authentic and to share who you are fully on LinkedIn as well. But I personally don't like when that's all it is, when people treat it as Facebook or something like that. You might get more likes and stuff like that, but you're not like, it's not really the purpose of LinkedIn. We have already another platform for that. So I think it's good to strike the balance of like, yes, you could share something about your morning walk once in a while. I mean, it's fine because people are interested in you as a person as well. Same way in the office, you do talk about personal stuff as well. It's part of the professional experience, but you should be as a professional on LinkedIn. And that means that like we try to monitor the content as well, because there's certain things that we don't really feel belong in that space about the kind of topics. So we do try, you know, like when it becomes too political and things like that, we are trying to kind of limit that if we can, because we don't want to be that kind of platform.
We do have a lot of people in Lithuania who post duplicate in Facebook and on LinkedIn. This thing is famous.
I mean, my recommendation to everybody is that like if you feel that you have too much of that on LinkedIn, just block it. Like in your feed, remove everything that you don't feel is actually something that benefits you. Like me personally, I go to LinkedIn to kind of see what some colleagues are doing, but also like, you know, I follow people in the public sector and stuff like that to understand what they're doing. And I want to see more of that. And then I block everything that I find, you know, I would, because I'm in sales and we get a lot of sales gurus doing all of their self-promotional stuff. And I just try to remove all of that as much as I can, you know. So really monitor and kind of control your own newsfeed, and then hopefully you'll have more value on LinkedIn when you log in once per day and kind of check it. There'll be more good stuff there if you follow kind of the right thought leaders and remove the stuff that you don't like.
Audience is silent.
Listening to our discussion.
Okay,
Yes,
I have one question. Linus, thank you for presentation. It was really interesting. And especially this slide when Lithuanian grows penetration LinkedIn more than other multi-countries than Latvian and Estonian one. So what would you recommend, as you said in the end, that there are three for leaders, people, things to do. What would be your recommendation for the first steps to do in LinkedIn?
Getting started on LinkedIn as
Not started, but
or...
yeah, like you said, analyze this one to use AI tools and embrace culture of learning. So what would you recommend first of them, or another trip?
Well, I think the first step is probably the absolute easiest, is if you haven't, to play around with some of these AI tools that are out there. I don't know if, like, in the room here, has everybody started using AI? And to some have, some maybe not so much, but to kind of start seeing where that could be useful in your role, because it's different for everybody, right? Depending on what tasks you have. But I think it's going to be everywhere. I mean, we're not going to be able to escape it. So I think to understand, like, we're not going to do everything with it, but to understand kind of how I can work it to my advantage as much as possible. Understand a little bit how to prompt it to get the kind of stuff that I need and things like that. I think we should all start doing that. I need to do it more myself. I don't know. I mean, personally at LinkedIn, we have the Microsoft Copilot that I have access to. You might have that as well. So, I mean, you have a solution already there as part of the solutions you have through work. So, try to play around with that. I think when it comes to the other parts, understanding kind of the skills, that's more for, you know, HR leaders, doing kind of planning for the future in the organization, to really kind of spend a little bit more time and seeing what will change now because of these technological advancements. Is that, like, I did this plan 2 years ago, should I, like, maybe look at updating that? Should I look at what other skills do we need to bring in here to be successful? And then obviously the culture of learning part, that's something that takes a very long time to drive in your organization. I think kind of start there. If you work in L&D or if you work in HR and you have responsibility for learning, like, try to be completely honest with yourself. Do we see that learning is a big part of what we do in this organization? And if not, what can we do to try to drive that? How can we get people to talk more about what they're learning? Can we do a lunch and learn in our team on Fridays? How can we just kind of start to kind of move the needle there a little bit to just make people a little bit more aware of that these things are important as well? You know, you don't graduate from university and then you're going to work for 40 years as whatever you studied. And that's not the reality anymore. We're all going to probably sit with different jobs. If we meet again in 5 years, we're doing something completely different. And how are we now preparing for whatever those roles are going to be?
Thank you.
I have one more question. Maybe it will be useful for all organization. Could you give an advice how to increase the followers of LinkedIn of our organization? Because it's a tricky question. We tried different things to make a barcode during the conference and slides and so on. But of course, we are. I think our public management agency is 3,000 and it's getting up.
Yeah.
But we want to be like in West Lithuania, so.
I don't know if you'll ever get there, to be completely honest with you, because it's a different audience. I think, yeah, there's no easy answers to that. You know, I think you're doing a lot of the right things. You know, you're making people aware when you meet them in the real world. You're encouraging them to follow you on the company page. Obviously, having just an active company page itself, sharing stuff there. And then I know you work with the brand ambassadors and people sharing stuff about what you do in the organization. It's an organic thing, right? It takes a little bit of time to do it. So I think it's just kind of continuing as is and doing that. I don't think I have a silver bullet. You could do this. Maybe you might buy a TV commercial, follow you on the. I mean, you can't really do that. You want people to follow it, but to make sure you have the LinkedIn button on the different channels so people can easily find your company page. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't have a better one on that. I mean, if you put it from there, you know, you should also celebrate the things you've achieved so far, right? Like also take time to say, okay, actually we're at 3 because you were at 1,000 maybe when you started the journey. So I mean, you don't have the benefit of having a super large organization that drives a lot of followers just naturally because you have 10,000 employees. When it's a smaller agency like that, it is harder to drive a follower base, but you're doing a really, really good job, and it's going to continue to grow the more you kind of talk about it and doing it, you know.
And I also need tips. How to delete the account which was created 20 years ago using the email address of their employer at that time.
Oh yeah.
Now I can't use it.
But what
I
if
can't delete it.
your LinkedIn
Profile.
Your own LinkedIn profile? Okay, then we'll.
You have 2 of them.
You have 2 of them.
Yeah.
Then we'll take that off.
And a lot of Lithuanians too. A lot of Lithuanians too.
Yeah, honestly, I work at LinkedIn. And then when I started at LinkedIn in 2013 and I was going to go interview for LinkedIn, I was like, oh shit, I have to have a LinkedIn profile. I can't have not a LinkedIn profile when I'm going to try to get a job at LinkedIn. So like 3 months before I set up a new LinkedIn profile. And then when I was at LinkedIn, I realized, oh, I had a LinkedIn profile from before. So when I started at LinkedIn, I had duplicate profiles as well. There are ways you can merge that. It can be hard if you don't have access to the email and stuff like that, but we'll try to connect offline.
Okay.
And I'll connect you with our customer support and we'll try to see what we can do to help you with that.
So the correct way is just to contact the support line.
The customer support, there's pretty good now. You can chat with support now on the helpline. They're usually pretty responsive. And if you contact them, you say, hey, I have this link, this is me, but I also have this one. I want to merge the 2. And then you see what you need to provide for them to be able to do that.
Great.
Yeah.
I think it's useful for.
There's probably more. My name is Lean as well. And normally at the end of a slide, I've done that before with the kind of code so people can connect with me. I forgot that now, but you can look at my name and you can always connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any personal LinkedIn issues that you need help with. typically that's not a good idea to say that because I get stuck with like some weird stuff.
Okay, the question. Yeah. Can I ask also, first of all, what is the important to focus on the content of the profile in LinkedIn? What matters is ensuring that the profile appears well organized and completed, which key details should be reflected in the employee's profile and which values and skills should be highlighted as a public management ambassador.
Yeah, I think having a photo is key when you set up a profile so people can see like what you look like.
From the beach, yeah?
Yeah.
Not professional, but it should be, I mean, it doesn't have to be super strict, but I think it's nice to have a photo when you're sharing stuff. And that's like kind of also spreads it a bit more. If you're being active, people tend to have photos. You have make sure you fill in all the different parts, your jobs that you've had, the things like that. But then the headline itself doesn't necessarily have to be, your job description or like your job title. It can be something like, a lot of people would have like, I support organizations' growth, blah, 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 like kind of a little bit more descriptive of what you do.
Communication.
Yeah, instead of maybe say like, I'm an HR assistant, blah, 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 you could say, I help talent. I think that's quite nice because it gives you a little bit more of like, oh, okay, instead of just a title. So the headline of your profile can be anything else. And then it depends a little bit like what's your purpose on LinkedIn? Like what is your main objective? If you are like a student trying to find jobs, I would like recommend that you write a description with like a lot of keywords in it for stuff that you want to be hired for. And you add the skills and everything like that. If you're more of a brand ambassador, I think it's good to have a good description of what it is you do in the company and like a little bit more insightful so that if you share something and somebody clicks in on you, they can get a good idea of what your job is. You could have a little bit like contact me if you want, that kind of stuff, so that it's clear to people then like what your role is in the company. So a nice description, good little headline that's a bit catchy, maybe a photo, have all the sections filled out. That will kind of be my.
Can I ask that how to ensure that the published information is valuable of the institution? Like I am an ambassador, and how to ensure that.
How to ensure that it's valuable for like the company that you work for.
Company, yes.
I mean, you could check with your colleagues if it's if it's good. I mean, like when I say sometimes when I started a new job at LinkedIn and I was like, I have to update my LinkedIn profile, I would look at like, what does my colleague's profile look like to kind of get some ideas of what has he been done, kind of copy it and put it in my own words. So you can do things like that. Oh, sorry, we have a question there as well.
We have one more question.
Okay. In the chat, there is a question I noticed.
Oh.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
I'm Greta. Thank you, Linus, for the presentation. I would like to ask about LinkedIn Premium. Should we invest and buy LinkedIn Premium as a company to increase our followers and make our targeted audience to notice us more?
Yeah, I don't make any money selling premium, so that's you don't have to. Premium is similarly there is, you get some extra access if you have premium. You can reach out to people that you might not be able to reach out to before. You can, if you're searching for jobs, you'll be higher up on the list maybe when recruiters are looking at you because you have premium. We don't sell it as a corporate solution to organizations to give their employees premium. Because honestly, I don't really see the point in you paying for your employees getting access to premium. I don't think there's enough benefit for the organization to do that. one good thing is with like premium, you get access to LinkedIn Learning, so you can do learning as an employee. But if you want to do that as an organization, it's better you get LinkedIn Learning as an organization and share it. Because when it's premium, it's the individual has to buy it and you have to give them money back. Essentially, you can't buy premium as an organization. You just expense the cost of it or something like that. So to be completely honest with you, I would not recommend it. Now, if you have an employee for whatever reason that's like super active on LinkedIn, he's a great brand ambassador, he's doing loads of things on LinkedIn, you're really benefiting from it. And then he's like, could I get premium because I'd like to get this access, it would help me in my role. Then I would like do it on a one-to-one basis because of that. But if you buy or if you get like 10 people premium and then they're not really active on LinkedIn, I wouldn't really do that. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
Charlotte?
Okay, so Linus, thank you for your informative presentation. Could you please describe or tell top 3 recommendations for Lithuanian public institution that wants to get serious with employee branding?
Oh, okay. I would say number one, like we spoke about a little bit already, like tidy up the company page, make sure that all of the employees that are connected to your company page when they put in their job title and where they work so that they see it. Tell all your employees to follow your company page so that they see themselves what you're posting. A lot of employees would not follow your own company page. Get all the ducks in line with that on LinkedIn first. Obviously, also, like, I'm just giving you advice on LinkedIn now because there's a lot of stuff you can do for employee branding outside of LinkedIn as well, obviously. But secondly, once you have that, identify some ambassadors in your organizations, people that are willing to be a bit more active on LinkedIn or that are already active on LinkedIn. Set up a little bit of a team so they can share with each other. Some organizations also track what they're doing and the kind of comments and likes and spread they're getting on their post. I know you can even do like a return on investment calculation on how much spread that's going towards the investment. Obviously, this is all organic. You're not paying for this. So set up an ambassador program. You can even do some sessions with them to kind of give some advice on how to set up a link file and what to share and things like that. And then I need to come up with a third thing here. What else? Oh yeah, employee branding. I think find a way of also communicating your employee value proposition to future talent on LinkedIn. We have a product called the Life Page where you can do this. There's also, I see like companies do it around like having a separate kind of showcase page where they talk more about their talent ambitions. Like people can do that as well. It's not as effective, I think, but maybe use the company page as well to communicate more clearly what is your employee value proposition. Like, why would somebody consider working for you? If you haven't done that work, you should really have a think about doing that in your teams and really trying to formulate what's our unique selling points. Because then your recruiters and when they reach out to people, they can leverage this value proposition to drive more interest with the right audience as well.
Thank you. The time planned for this meeting is finished. So thank you very much.
I think we went over a little bit. Thank you so much for everybody sticking around as well.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you very much.